Sandy Botkin on the line right now. And Sandy, good morning. It's been a year since I've had to think about you and think of the stress that I think about when I think about you.
Well, good morning. Well, with proper tax planning, it isn't stressful. You'll get more money back.
Well, that's right. Let's get money back, or they just take. They just keep taking. So yesterday was the day that got underway here, where you can now file your taxes. And we now have a little, so it won't be April 15th this year. We've got a few extra days.
That is correct. You have until April 18th.
I like that. And that's because, the 15th falls on a weekend. And then the 18th is, what is the reason for this again? The 18th is a holiday in D.C., I believe.
Right. But there's a crazy rule. If the 15th falls either on a weekend or on a federal or D.C. holiday,
right,
then it's automatically in the following work day, whatever that is, whether it be Monday or Tuesday, whatever the work day is, it isn't a holiday or a weekend, and that's why we have the 18th instead of the 15th.
So the 15th must be Saturday, 16th Sunday, 17th is the holiday, so the 18th is tax day.
That's exactly right.
Okay, makes sense. All right. And it took me a little while, Father. I a little slow.
Well, it's like the holy days of obligation. If it falls on a Saturday or a Sunday, or if it falls on a Friday, it's not a holy day this year. But if it falls on a Tuesday through Thursday, it is a holy day that year.
That's what we rely on.
Figure that out.
That's why it's called the Internal Revenue Code.
Yeah.
All right, Sandy. So, is it the? Would you say that it is advisable to file early? Is that the smart thing to do?
It is more advisable now than ever. Let me explain a couple reasons why. First reason is, if you're going to get a refund, which many people get, by the way, a lot of withholding and stuff is more than they owe. By filing early, you get your refund faster. And plus, the government, there's less tax returns filed early, and so it's faster for a couple reasons. But there's an even bigger reason than that, and that's identity theft and tax fraud. There's a lot of fraud going on where people are stealing identities and filing false tax returns.
Yeah.
The earlier you file, the less of a chance that will happen to you, or if it did happen, the greater the chance the government will catch it quicker.
What are the changes from last year? And it's going to be very interesting because word is, and we'll talk about this, there are going to be some big changes coming with this new president. But
we can talk about what Donald Trump wants to do. That's a whole subject that we can get into.
Well, we'll get into that, but let's start with what happened last year and the changes from last year.
Okay, there's first of all a couple of things that are going up automatically. Your standard deduction is going up, so instead of it being $6,300 for individuals and I think $9,300 for family, it's like $6,350. So that's gone up. Exemptions have gone up. The phase out of IRAs has a little bit higher. There's minor inflation, cost of living type stuff has gone up. That's really it. A lot of the same benefits for us business people are the same. For example, you could write off up to $500,000 worth of equipment last year. Same thing for this year. There is one really interesting thing that came out from the IRS. In fact, I do want to mention two interesting things. The first thing is, let's assume you make an error on your tax return. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Most accountants have said, okay, well, you file an amended return. Well, IRS just came out with a safe harbor rule. And they said, if the error is not related to withholding, if it's something else, you do not have to file an amended tax return if the error is less than $100.
Wow.
Nice.
It's called the safe harbor rule, and a lot of people don't know about that. So be aware of that. So if it's less than $100, you do not have to file a safe harbor unless it's dealing with withholding, and then in which case, then if it's less than $25, you don't have to file an amended tax return.
That tells me that they are trying to clear out all the clutter.
You got it.
Right?
They're trying to make it less tax return, less filing, less everything, and less hassle for that. And part of the reason is there's fewer employees at the IRS, so they just can't deal with it, whether they want to or not.
Yeah.
And now that President Trump just instituted a hiring freeze, there'll be even fewer people to deal with all this.
That's interesting. And so tell me, let's talk about President Trump and his plans to, because if there's anybody who knows, I mean, this is the one area that I would think that, and I guess I don't believe that it's Donald Trump that's sitting down in his tax return. I think he puts the best people on it. It's his accountants and CPAs and attorneys. But if there's anybody that can make change to anything, it's this guy when it comes to the IRS, I believe. You think so or no?
Well, I can give you what his proposals are going to be.
All right.
You know, it's the president doesn't have the power that you think they have. They may come out with all kinds of decisions, but it's the little guys who work for the government that really institute what's going on.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to do it, they won't do it. It's just that simple.
All right.
Some of the things Trump wants to do, and by the way, I know Trump. I used to be his warm-up back at a seminar, so I really got to talk to him and got to meet him.
Wow.
First thing he wants to do is, which if you have a regular corporation, he wants to cut corporate tax rates literally in half, from a maximum of 35% to about 15%, 20%. So we're talking, you know, this is one of the reasons why the stock market's going ballistic, because, you know, taxes, they cut the taxes of these corporations in half. That's a huge, huge deal for the corporations.
Yeah.
The second thing he wants to do is he is going to increase or actually double the standard deduction. He wants a standard deduction of $15,000 for single people and $30,000 for married people. We're talking, in some cases, more than double.
That's almost triple.
Yeah.
However, he wants to eliminate all exemptions. So where that's going to benefit people is it's going to benefit people who don't have a lot of kids. If you have a lot of kids, then you're going to actually see an increase in taxes.
Okay. All right.
Okay? He definitely wants to eliminate from the top rate. He wants to drop the top rate, which is right now, let me see, it'll be a little over 40%, actually, to make it a top rate of 33%. So the real top people in the top 1% of these wage earners are going to get a substantial increase in their decrease in their taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. The final thing he wants to do is to completely eliminate the estate tax. Right now, we have an estate tax exemption of about $5.5 million, $5.49 million per person. So if you have a family of two, you can avoid about a state tax on about $10.5 million, which probably eliminates most people from having to pay an estate tax. But what he wants to do is completely eliminate the estate tax. Now, you might look at that, and his argument is, well, we worked all our lives, why should we pay an estate tax?
Yeah.
But it's really a bad idea, because the estate tax was never put in to raise money. It was put in as an anti-monopolistic provision to prevent rich families like the Trumps from dominating the economic landscape of this country.
Right. Why do I have a feeling that like 4 years ago at Trump Tower in the executive office of Donald Trump, we heard the statement, "That's it. I'm running for president. I'm going to change this code myself."
Well, you know, it's funny. About 16 years ago, he announced he was thinking of running for president.
Yeah.
And I remember him going out. I'll give you a little story that I told him. I remember him going out. One of the things he said to the audience was, get a prenuptial agreement. Whenever you do get married, and of course I know why he said that. Right. He had to pay a huge amount to Ivana Trump. But get a prenuptial agreement. And I remember going up to him and I said, let me ask you a question. Do you really want to win the presidency, or do you want to be right? Which would you prefer? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, if you're going to tell people to get a prenuptial agreement, which you're absolutely right about, I'm not going to argue that.
Right,
I'm a lawyer, I understand that. You're going to alienate probably 40% of the population, certainly the female population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why I said, you want to win presidency, or you want to be right?
And for some reason, nothing sticks to this guy. He can say really whatever he wants, and he's been able to get away with it. Now, you talked about the things that he wants to do, and you were very careful in the way you clarified that. Now, what do you think he's going to be able to do?
Unfortunately, my crystal ball is broken, because that's what you're asking me to say.
Yeah.
You know, I have no idea what Congress is going to let him get away with. And right now, he has Republican-controlled Congress. So I would say for 2 years, he's going to have he's going to be able to get a lot of things through. A lot of people think that Congress will black him, but he's got a Republican-controlled Congress. Now, what I think will happen is after 2 years, people are going to make sure that doesn't happen anymore.
So you think, if you were to make a prediction, we're setting up for a Democrat midterm?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a Democratic Congress, but he understands this. So he is going to really push for his and Republican agenda as fast as possible.
And he's
You're
good.
going to see more things going on in the next 6 months to a year than you'll have ever seen of a new president.
And I think he's very good at getting right down and getting into the faces of those people and within his own party in Congress and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do, and really pushing to get stuff done. So the negotiation of him could really allow him to accomplish a lot of these things.
Oh, I think people think, oh, he's not going to get this through. I want you to hear it from me. He is going to get a lot of this stuff through. He will.
Yeah.
The only thing that he's going to have a little trouble with, he wants to completely replace Obamacare, and a lot of his own party are willing to do that only if they can come up with a replacement. To simply eliminate Obamacare and then do nothing will leave the health care markets and a whole bunch of other people out in limbo.
Well, if you notice, what we have going on right now is a lot of resolutions. These are things we intend to do because that whole promise of on day one I'm going to repeal Obamacare, that ain't happening. And in part because it really can't. There's so many elements now that have been ingrained into the country and into the people. It's hard to take things away from people.
Right. Well, there's one thing he's saying to his party, and then there's something else he's saying privately to everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
And, he wants to replace Obamacare. The Republican Party wants to replace Obamacare. They've never liked it from day one, and they fought it every step. If you remember what happened, they went to court. They fought it every step of the way. They really did.
Yeah.
And they do want to replace it. But most of the Republicans some of them I've talked to and some that I've heard who've been on television, have said that they're not going to do that unless they see, or at least not comfortable in doing that, unless they see a replacement.
Repeal was something that was talked about many, many years ago about Social Security, and it never seemed to come to fruition.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's another thing that they try to do. But people should be aware there are some things the Republican agenda have been wanting to do now for 50 years that they may get through.
Yeah.
For example, one of the things they want to do is change Medicare, where instead of having Medicare the way you have it, they give you vouchers, and you essentially use it to buy a certain amount of insurance or pay a certain amount of medical, and instead of the way Medicare is. And believe me, the Republicans want to do that.
And it could get done.
Well, again, whether it'll pass or not is another story.
Yeah.
But that's certainly a Republic. They've been wanting to do that for years.
So the lesson right now is get it right. Be very careful on your taxes, but get them in early. Get them in early. Get them in early.
That's exactly right.
All right, Sandy. What do you have to plug, by the way? Can I plug something for you? I love having you on.
I've got two things that people should consider. The first is I have my two books, Lower Your Taxes Big Time. And that's particularly good if you have a business. My second book, which is available to everyone and really should be read by everyone, is called Achieve Financial Freedom Big Time. And that's something like what your CPA should be telling you about your finances but isn't. And then I finally have an application. Those of you who have to keep track of expenses and mileage and things like that, I have a top-rated application on smartphones called TaxBot, TaxBot, TaxBot. And you go to taxbot.com and get it, and it'll keep track of everything, expenses, mileage, literally automatically. And that will make your life a lot less taxing.
Okay, I like it. I like the play on words, and I'm going for TaxBot. I'm going to download that immediately. I'll get on that. All right, Sandy, good stuff. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Enjoy the tax season. We'll talk again soon.
Sure.
All right.